Hello, 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 and welcome back to another Minecraft Let's Play video with me, Elven Dragon, here in Feed the Beast Skies 2 on Shadowlands SMP. So last episode we went and started playing around with some stuff with Ars Nouveau, set up a fairly large, mostly automated source berry farm, and since then I've been just doing a bit of work decorating up, putting in all the leaves for the area, and finishing gathering up the rest of the essences. We ended up finding a little snowy island to get our snow from, got a chicken, and ended up capturing a wild and chimera. Unfortunately, this thing doesn't look like it produces the wild and tributes that we need, so we had to fight another one. And then we proceeded to finish patching up the little mob area here. But we've managed to get all of our different essences that we need for those mastery focuses, and we just have to go put them into the enchanting setup to get those going. So apparently we need source in a jar. Alright, now that should hopefully work. Looks like we're gonna have to refill our source jar every single time, but that should get us our mark of masteries. Now we just have to do that one more time and we'll have enough to craft those and portal frames. So while we wait for that source jar to fill up, we have a few things that we can get into. So we still need to get the ether, the nether stars, and the sculk. We do have one ether, but we need 5 more of them, which means we need to look into this stuff with Malum and look into see what we need to do for that. The other option is we go and get stuff for the nether stars. I did go ahead and set up a wither skelly spawner up in here so we can get more skulls fairly easily. Do want to go and play around with the stats for that just to make it a little bit easier to work with, but that's going to be the simplest of the 3 things because that's just getting the skulls and setting up an area to fight the wither. But the third part is the sculk, and one option that we can do is we can go try and find a warden. Actually, that seems to be the only option we have. So we could get a sculk catalyst from using the summon possessed warden, but that requires us to already have sculk. Literally everything that allows us to get sculk either requires us to have sculk, a structure we didn't have, as there aren't any ancient cities, I have checked, or to have a sculk catalyst, which we need the warden for. And I, for one, would feel much better trying to fight the warden on my own terms, rather than trying to go and find the structure that has it and then fight it there. So for that, we're going to need something to capture it. And I know just the thing. So behind our little waterfall, we have an area marked out for a cave. And this is going to serve 2 functions. First, it's going to be an area for us to do our occultism stuff. And that's the part that I want to get into today. The other part is going to be more of a massive geode. And we are not going to be able to get into that quite yet. But thinking, what we can do here is we can just kind of build up a small little cave. Got our little stone cutter here just in case we want more stone slabs. We're going to use stone and andesite for the most part here. Should we actually have some andesite slabs as well? But we'll just kind of mix the 2 in, this thing kind of marked out, and go from there. So I've got a small little cave to build. Shouldn't be too bad. Definitely going to want to make sure we kind of keep this kind of open so we have enough space to branch the opening of the cave here off into 2 sections. Definitely going to be interesting to see how this goes. I'm not used to having to build caves in the middle of the air, but I need to go and mark out a whole big cavern here. One thing that we can do is we can start growing up our little otherworld saplings, for which we are going to need some oak saplings. We're going to need that tossed down, that lit on fire, make some sort of little campfire thing later, and then we just need to toss a couple oak saplings into there, grow up the trees, eat another fruit, and then we can go and harvest those. So I'm going to go build up the cavern while I wait for these to grow, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so we've built up at least the floor of the cave. We still have quite a bit of walls and such to put in. Still have the river here that's in the middle of most of this, but this is an area big enough for at least 2 of our 3 main circles. We have this space over here started out for the 3rd, and I have no idea where we're going to put Bronze's contact. There's going to be someplace over here. Probably over this way, maybe? I don't really know. It's going to all depend upon where I feel like putting it. I almost want to stick it right in here, but we're going to have to build up the platform and everything else in order to see how it is. So if we do this, we can kind of start getting started here. We need Javier's circle to start. That's going to be right here in the middle. Just make sure we line that up. There we go. So we're going to need a few candles and white chalk, which should be really easy to do. That is 1, 2, 3. This is the other stone. If we smelt that, I believe that will give us burnt other stone. And then we need to eat this Demon's Dream fruit, get this effect, chop all of these other logs while we actually have this effect. And there we go. We'll have enough of those. Just need to toss those into the fire. And there we go. We have a nice little start towards getting our chalks. So there we go. That gets us our first chalk of 16. I don't know if we're going to get all 16 today. Probably not. We just need to toss them into the fire. Go down here. Draw out our little circle. A lot of this is going to end up getting replaced later as we get better chalks. Now we just need our sacrificial bowls, some candles, and that will complete the ritual circle. So if we just do that, we're going to craft a bunch of the other stone bowls because we need several of them for a lot of these recipes. Don't remember which ones we're going to need 8 for. Probably all of these. So we're just going to go and set these in. We don't need them quite yet. That'll get us start early on. And now, let's check our occultism page here. Where does this go? Basic chalks. Okay. So we have a few other things that we need in order to get the quests for making up the rituals. Apparently, we can get spirit attuned gems from source gems. That'll be really useful. So we're going to need quite a few of those, and we need books of binding. So we need black dye, feathers, and a book. Feathers might be an issue. We don't really have any left. I think I used the one that we had for the enchanting. Nope, we have one. So we can get one book of binding. So for that, we just need to get those 3 items, toss them into the flames, and craft them all together. And then we'll need a few dyes to get the final book for summoning things. Those shouldn't be too bad. We have flowers and we can craft some dye seeds if we need to. But if we head down here to our little patch of soulfire, just need to toss those things in. It changes them into their occultism items. And there we go. 1 empty book of binding. We need 2 of these. Yeah, we need a Jinn book. And we'll need a Foliot book to get the fragile empty soul gem. And we need eggs. We're going to need chicken somewhere. But before we get too far into that, I do want to start getting our rituals placed down. So we are going to need Strigger's Higher Binding to get the soul gem. So we just need to line that up here in the middle. You know what? This will probably just be easier if we use the max sized pentacle because that's what this area is set up for. We've got this perfectly aligned so that it should just fit right into this nice little indentation in our cave floor. And we can just kind of start marking out the chalk glyphs. That'll help make it easier later to put this thing in. And now we can just go back to Striggers and see what exactly we're going to need for this particular ritual. So it looks like we're going to need some skeleton skulls and some of our light gray chalk. So we'll have to go ahead and get that. I believe for that chalk, we're going to need crushed calcite, which means we're going to need to get our crusher. And we need to get some silver, which I've taken a bit of a look into that, and we can use ours to get our silver. So if we use that imbuement, looks like we're going to need manipulation, demon's dream, and a spirit attuned gem for that. So demon's dream essence is just 9 of seeds of demon's dream fruit. Should be easy to get. And we're going to need manipulation, conjugation essence for that one. So I am going to go ahead and get enough seeds and everything else to get those starting to craft. And I'm going to go track down some chickens so we can actually get all the feathers that we're going to need. Because we need 2 for the soul gem. We need one for the crusher. Looks like we're a little short on seeds for the essence. I wonder if we can stick these in a jar. Oh, we have to get the feathers first. And there's a few other demons that I would like to summon for this area here to make things a little easier around here. So, I'm going to go track down those items, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so quite a bit of time later, we ended up getting a bunch of eggs. So we've gone and built this small little tiny chicken coop here. Currently has about 4 chickens in it. So we can use those to get ourselves some eggs, which we can eventually use to get ourselves some chicken seeds, which will make getting feathers a lot easier. But I've gone ahead and gathered up everything that we need for our first summoning ritual. I also decorated our little spirit fire here with some cobblestones around it to kind of give it a little more campfire-y look. But for this, all we really have to do is we just have to put our ingots here in our bowls, bind our foliate book to a foliate, stick it in there, and wait for the ritual to occur. This does tend to take a little while. Wish we had the temporal pouch. Probably actually make this now. Anyway, we now have our foliate crusher, so now we can toss him our items, start crushing them into dust. He is a little slow, so we can easily get a more powerful guy who is a little bit faster and a little bit better return rate. For ingots like this, it's still going to be 1 though. But they could crush ores down from 1 to 6. 5, I think. I forget what the merit crusher gets. But we just need some silver dust, some iron dust, which he's currently working on, and calcite dust, which is the main reason we need him, because there's only one way to get calcite dust. Once he's done crushing that, we can get our light gray chalk. Already gone ahead and made some impure light gray chalk. Got a few more books of binding. I don't know exactly what all we need. We need stone and obsidian dust. So it looks like we're going to need stone and conjugation essence. It's not going to be too bad. Because if I remember correctly, we need that purple chalk for our ritual eventually. There we go. Impure gray, light gray chalk. We can change some of these glyphs to upgrade our summoning circles here. Since each tier uses a different color from white all the way up to black. So we can go and put down our square summoning circles here. So we can just do that. I've already marked out some of the spots. And we can go and start replacing some of the white chalk we already have down with our light gray. We can at least get those in. We're going to need skelly skulls still. And purple and lime chalk. So we've got a little bit of work to go before we can even get our little soul gem here. We still need 1 layer below for the fragile one, which means that we still need a bunch more chalks here. So the purple chalk, easy enough. We can crush down obsidian, we even have any, and crush down some end stone once we get the conjugation essence. The lime chalk, on the other hand, requires a slime ball, which I think we have, emerald dust, which isn't going to be hard, and research fragment dust, which is going to require another book. So we're going to need another feather, and 2 bottles of enchanting, which we should have. So we can at least get that going. We should have, yep, we got some extra emeralds there. So there's our 2 emeralds that we need to turn into dust. There's our 2 bottles of enchanting. And now we just need to find where we put that slime ball. So we're going to need a book to craft the research fragment dust. So once we find that slime ball, we'll be able to work on that. But while we're over here, we might as well grab out the stuff that we need for that temporal pouch. If we can actually grab it out of our storage. It's really difficult to grab some stuff off those top layers. So just need an Eye of Ender. We should have pretty much everything else. Doesn't look like we have quite enough leather, so we're going to have to use our essences. But once we get that, that'll really help with pretty much everything, because I think we can use that in just about everything to speed things up. So now we just need to get out our cobble gold, which looks like we need a little bit more of that as well. So there we go. 2 things of cobble gold, 1 temporal pouch. All right, there we go. That'll just slowly gather up more time as we are running around here, so long as it's in our inventory. Will allow us to go ahead and speed up these, because these can take a little bit of time. So I'm gonna go ahead and at least get the basic ritual here in. Looks like we just need the purple chalk for that. It should be easy enough. So I'm gonna go get everything ready to get the lime chalk and start gathering up stuff to get our soul gem, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so we've gotten the lime and the purple chalk in for our pentacle here, and we're just missing 4 skeleton skulls. But we don't need that to get our first stage, so we can go and put that in, and that can start crafting the fragile soul gem. But in order to get these skeleton skulls, we have gone and set up our 3rd pentacle here. Don't remember what this one is called. So we can go ahead and get that. We just need to get our chicken here over there, because these summoning rituals, this will summon possessed skeletons. These ones call for sacrifices. So we need a sacrifice. Fortunately, this also gives us more feathers. So there we go. We've got the book on there. Our chicken should be arriving here shortly. And now we just have to do that, and that'll start the ritual summoning. So there we go. We get a skeleton. Thought we would have gotten more. And apparently only drops 1 skeleton skull. So we are going to have to go ahead and do that a few more times. Which, good thing we're going to be getting a lot of feathers from that. So I'm going to have to go and craft that up. But once we get that, we've got everything here that we need to craft our soul gem. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the eggs and get the rest of the skulls that we need. We're going to need even more to get the other pentacles in. And then I'll be back once we're ready to go track down a warden. All right. There we go. We now have everything we need, and it seems like all of how things look has changed. Those are not the glyphs we left with. That's not the book we left, but it is the right book. So we'll go and put that in the thing. I'm missing a dime. All right. Now we have enough to make this. So we'll just have to wait for that to craft. We've got a decent amount of time in our pouch. So if we click on that will speed that up considerably. We'll lose a bit of time from that, but there we go. We now have an empty soul gem that we can use to pick stuff up, like our little guy here. What I do want to check is if we can go and put him in a jar, if he'll still work. I don't know if that'll work or not, but something we can try. All right, let's try to see if this will work. If we can put this guy in there, that'll be perfect. There we go. Now, it looks like we can actually access his inventory there. So we'll have to try and crush something. Do we have anything on us? I guess we can use the iron and get that should work to test this. So let's put that down, toss that at him, and there we go. Yep, it works. I don't actually want the iron and get crushed, but that works. Excellent. That gives me some ideas of what we can do. We are going to need another container to capture the warden, but I need to get rid of some of the stuff in our inventory before we do that. So I'm going to go take care of all the stuff that I'm carrying that I don't need and head out to where I think the warden should be, and then I'll be right back. All right, so we've gone and investigated here and have managed to find a trial spawner with a warden. So we can just go ahead and pick that guy up. Go and snag that. Apparently that solved the spawner there. We managed to just kind of sneak in here behind all the mobs because we have our midnight robe. Very useful. I love it. There's some good stuff here. Dreadful dirt, molten blaze. We may have to come back here when we can actually pick some of that up. Okay, not bad items. I'm going to snag that as that should have a few things. Frozen steel, freezing damage immunity. Ooh, very nice. But this also gets us all the Sculk that we're going to need. Excellent. We still want the warden anyway, but we do still have some durability on our Silk Touch pick. Just don't want to risk breaking it. So let's grab that. There we go. That is more Sculk than we needed for those. And now we can head out. So that was surprisingly useful. Still more at the structure, but right now I just want the warden. I need to get this guy into a jar. All right, got the ritual running. Hopefully that beetle stays out of the range. We don't need a beetle in our jar. We're not doing a bug collection today. It's not going to stay out of there, is it? There we go. All right, set down our jar, put our warden in, and there we go. Now we should just be able to get warden stuff from our Drigby. Excellent. So I'm going to go give the Drigby some source. We need to really get some more source jars and connect them up. And I think that is probably going to be about it for today. There's still more occultism stuff that I want to get into and play around with and expand our rituals. But I think we'll just stop with getting the Sculk that we needed for the end portals for right now. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more of what is going on this island. And I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.